It's the Avengers. The DNC, the Democrats, they don't trust Bernie Sanders. They don't think he can win. They don't like him. He is Loki. He's on the team, sort of. We don't trust him. They want Captain America. He's old. He's from a different generation. We trust him. And that's Joe Biden. And now this morning you have Iron Man, the super rich guy over here who's a little bit snarky, kind of doing his own thing. They've even gotten to him. Mike Bloomberg out of the race. A lot of you disagree with me on that. And if you... Here, let's do this. Roshini Rajkumar is here. She's an executive coach, obviously host here on WCCO. It's good to see you, Roshini.
Great to see you. Lots to talk about, Cory.
A lot of people are saying I'm way off on this, that the Democrats, or the DNC, would tell Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Pete, Amy Klobuchar being Black Widow, Mayor Pete being Spider-Man, to stop your campaigns and back Captain America, Joe Biden. They say, well, no, they made the decisions on their own. Absolutely not.
So people are coming down on you for basically saying what is happening. I mean, this is what I've been saying to myself, talking about ever since we kind of saw this domino effect happening, right? I did not think it would go as strongly toward Biden, but the fact that last night happened in the way that it did for Biden proves to me that the DNC, the Democrats, the establishment, so to speak, has some sort of behind-the-scenes maneuverings going on, which is very anti-Bernie Sanders. And the other candidates, you know, maybe there were promises made, which is completely what I believe.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that Senator Klobuchar or Mayor Pete are disingenuous when they're saying, hey, I made the decision to stop my campaign or suspend whatever the language they use. Those two things can live in unison. They can have a bigger rainbow or a golden pot over the rainbow, whatever the expression is, and still say, you know what, it makes no sense, we're running out of money. Both things can happen at the same time.
They could have said to whoever's telling them to drop out, they could have chosen to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue through Super Tuesday and see where I sit. They had that choice, but somebody higher up said, look, it is in your best interest. You are not going to win. It is in the party's best interest. And maybe there's a VP pick in it. Maybe there's a cabinet pick in it for you down the line. But absolutely, they were told you should probably drop out.
Or maybe influence. You know, even if you don't want to say, quote unquote, told to do this, there's a lot of bargaining and influencing going on behind the scenes. Right? I mean, to me, some of that stuff that goes on is pretty disgusting. One of the things that makes me very sad about Super Tuesday and about seeing Mayor Pete and Senator Klobuchar drop is that each of them were clearly passionate candidates. They had platforms, they had agendas, they had followers. I wanted to see them go through Super Tuesday. Don't you owe it to yourself and your followers to kind of see what our avalanche did actually produce? All right. Short of that, they didn't. So now we can't be naive, America, and think there weren't some wranglings and deals going on behind the scenes.
Well, so think about it, right? In a 48-hour span after South Carolina comes in, Joe Biden, who has been, we were talking about his campaign being on life support, in 48 hours after winning resoundingly in South Carolina, Mayor Pete, Amy Klobuchar out. Now you have Mike Bloomberg out, all endorsing Joe Biden. Beto O'Rourke back from the dead. He's out there endorsing.
That was a weird thing. Yes, exactly. You know, and there are no coincidences, people. There just are no coincidences. What makes me sad as someone who is a lover of the Constitution and lover of voting is that people actually weren't able to really exercise their vote in who they truly believed in. Right? And the other piece of this, Cory, is that a fraction of the voting public actually votes in primaries. So we are allowing a fraction of the American public to decide who the nominees are. And this goes for both parties. It's a fraction. If you look at the numbers, if you add up even California, the state that had so many votes, delegates at hand, only maybe around 3 million. If you add up everybody's votes, roughly that. And we're in a country of 330 million people.
Yeah. Well, and you think about all the time and money that was spent in those first 4 states, and then last night kind of wipes it all out, with those first 4 states and before Super Tuesday. But here's the way I look at it, too. If Bernie Sanders was not Bernie Sanders, meaning he was a more moderate candidate, I think that those candidates are still out there on Super Tuesday. If Bernie Sanders was not such a threat to the Democratic Party, because, mind you, he's an independent senator, I think that Amy Klobuchar's still in it. I think Mayor Pete's still in it. I still think that, hey, we have a shot. I think it was, to your point, I think it was Bernie Sanders is such a threat that the Democratic Party itself said, he will not be stopped if you don't drop out and push your supporters to Joe Biden.
And doesn't that say a lot about the power of Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
If you're so afraid, you had to do this, Democratic Party. Because I really believe there were shenanigans, my favorite word of the campaign season, going on and still are going on. It is sad to think Bloomberg spent as much money as you talked about earlier in the show. That money could have, I know a lot of nonprofits who would have loved that money.
$560 million for what, 80 million per delegate or something like that?
It's a crime, really. I mean, we need campaign finance reform in this country. So it will be interesting to see. Now, a couple quick tips, if any of their supporters are listening. Bernie Sanders can't keep on being angry man because he was pretty angry in his talk last night. And Joe Biden has to not think like everyone's saying it's this Biden rush. It's because all these candidates dropped out. He would never have gotten those kind of votes on his own. So his team needs to understand and figure out, what does Joe Biden stand for? Because he can't keep bringing up President Obama's name. He actually has to have a platform himself.
She is Roshini Rajkumar. Her podcast, Real Leaders with Roshini. Of course, she hosts here on WCCO, Real Talk with Roshini. How can Joe Biden keep it on the tracks? Because that was, in those first debates, that was the thing. It's like, what does Joe Biden do? Like, we heard him say these different things, and everyone's calling him out saying, I don't get it. What is he talking about? And that was over and over and over again. Now he's the front runner. All of a sudden, he's the front runner for the Democratic nomination. How can he keep it on the tracks?
Well, a couple things. So you say he's the front runner. I mean, there is still, we still have some other primaries. We still have about half of the delegates to weigh in here. So both teams and both candidates need to stay authentic to who they are. As far as Joe Biden, he needs to get a lot of sleep. He needs to not mumble his words, and not everything is a speech from the 1970s or 1980s. I mean, you got to be in the present, Joe Biden.
Yeah,
right?
You can cut out the no malarkey. We don't need that.
No malarkey. He can use shenanigans. I'm okay with that, but not malarkey.
The more trendy word. What's going on with the podcast, Roshini?
Well, I'm so excited to share it with you and your listeners, Cory, that we are kicking off Season 2 of Real Leaders with Roshini. We are taping 4 episodes tomorrow, live at the radio.com podcast studio in Rosedale Food Court.
Yeah.
People can come listen. We'll be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And these episodes don't stream live. We tape them. They come out weekly. They will start next week, Season 2. I'm very excited about it. And we have some wonderful people. I won't say who the first one is that we're unveiling, but these are high-profile people from all different industries. And
is it Joe Biden?
Joe Biden is not on my request list right now, but, I'll look into that. I wouldn't be opposed to talking with Joe Biden. I would love to get Amy Klobuchar in a future episode, so we'll work on that. But I have to say, and you have a podcast, Real Leaders with Roshini has been such a joy to do. Season 1, incredible. Go listen. The people that I was able to chat with.
Uplifting.
Just amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, just amazing. And so I'm so excited to kick off Season 2. And we have some wonderful special series also in store for you during Season 2.
Well, congrats, Roshini. Best wishes on Season 2. And, let's catch up real soon.
Thanks.